Understand that those who have lost 2 elections to Trump are no experts on electability and have no standing to tell a new generation of Democrats that their ideas for justice are too radical. We are for the working class over the Epstein class. Our vision for this party is to deliver America's next New Deal. What does that mean? It means Medicare for all, no more excuses, no more half measures, free universal health care for every American now.
That is Ro Khanna at this past week's DNC meeting, laying it out for those who want to hear it and those who don't. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe. Thank you for joining me. At the very same time that Congressman Khanna was laying out this vision, minority Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries was doubling down on doing the very opposite on NBC's Meet the Press.
Access to health care.
Do you personally support Medicare for all? Do you personally support Medicare for all?
No, as you indicated, I haven't co-sponsored the Medicare for all legislation that has been introduced over the last several years. I do think we need to figure out how to fix our broken healthcare system and then build something better once we repair the damage that has been done. Now, that will include doing things like extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits so that more than 20 million people who have seen their health insurance premiums skyrocket, in some cases by up to $1,000 a month. That's not sustainable. And that's something that Donald Trump and Republicans have visited upon the American people.
Just to be very clear, though, as a Democratic leader in the House, would you vote for or against Medicare for all?
I think, as you've indicated in your question to me, it's not legislation that I currently am co-sponsoring or that I support.
Okay. Well, Jeffries' answers set off an absolute firestorm on social media. These are just a few clips I pulled, but there were thousands of answers. People just furious. This person writes, Jeffries wants to keep ICE, prevent universal health care for us, and keep AIPAC going. How do we get rid of him? This person writes, how, and I cannot stress this enough, the fuck did we end up in 2026 Trump's America with Hakeem Jeffries as the, quote, leader of the Democratic caucus? Josh the Progressive, who's a big creator, writes, under the current Democratic rule of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Why would anyone take election advice from these fucking losers? And then this person, Joseph Stegel, writes, every time Hakeem Jeffries opens his mouth, it makes me dislike him more. He doesn't support Medicare for all. He doesn't support the dismantling of ICE. And he's pro-Israel. He needs to go, and quickly. And like I said, there were just thousands. Like, it's probably, by the time you see this video, it may still be trending on social media. In the current election cycle, Hakeem Jeffries has received over $391,000 in campaign cash from the for-profit health insurance industry PACs. So that may explain his change of heart from a man who once co-sponsored Medicare for all legislation to a congressional representative who now opposes it. His comments come in sharp contrast to a wave of progressive candidates who are running and in many cases winning on a platform of Medicare for all, like DSA candidate out of Philadelphia's 3rd District, current state rep Chris Rabb.
I mean, this just lit up the internet last night, and I'm sure that you are aware. Hakeem Jeffries came out yesterday on Meet the Press with your friend Kristen Welker when she asked him if he would support Medicare for all.
I don't have any friends in corporate media.
Okay, I thought you know her, I guess. And when she asked him if he would support a Medicare for all platform, he said no. He said no. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
well,
and
it's not
people are very unhappy.
It's not his choice. He represents the people who put him in leadership. Should he be the next Speaker of the House, he is accountable he presides over the entire U.S. House of Representatives. But he also is accountable to the people who put him in that position. And that will be 218 plus Democrats and probably 0 Republicans. So if a loud, well-organized majority of House Democrats want Medicare for all, that's going to be an ongoing discussion. And if he has other agenda items, he's going to need our vote. So if that's not a priority for him and something else is, he's going to want his priorities to be our priorities. He's going to have to earn our vote to do that. It's a negotiation. So just because he says he's not for Medicare for all does not mean that we will not vote for the Medicare for all bill to be reintroduced by Pramila Jayapal in January, February of 2027. That remains to be seen. This is not an autocracy. He will have been elected by 218 plus members of Congress. We also have priorities, and this is the work of democracy. So we will figure it out.
Is he willfully ignorant, or is he just completely out of touch with what the people want?
Well, we do know that there's a poll that came out that said Medicare for all could save over 100,000 lives a year. And I forget what the staggering number is in terms of the money saved per year.
It's huge.
It's a massive number. And also, we've all seen the polls that talk about how overwhelmingly supportive the American populace is of universal health care. So those are facts. I've not met the man. I've not had a conversation with him. So I'd rather not speculate. All I can say is there's a growing number of incoming and current members of Congress who understand that the days of incrementalism are over and that we need bold policy positions. We also saw a poll from CBS yesterday that showed that voters were exhausted and concerned, and they want fighters. They want bold policy initiatives to be enacted, and a new House majority by Democrats needs to lead with that boldness.
The Yale School of Public Health just released a study showing that universal health care, which is Medicare for all, let me be clear, it's not the same thing as the senior Medicare we have right now, that Medicare for all coverage could save the U.S. government $1 trillion and 114,000 lives every year. Let that sink in. That is massive. And the poll that Rep. Rabb was referring to is the YouGov CBS poll showing that 90% of all voters that they polled want Medicare for all passed. And 83% of Democrats polled want a Democratic Party that will stand up and fight for them. I recently chatted with Will Lawrence. He's another progressive candidate out of Michigan's highly competitive 7th district. Lawrence is coming off a big shakeup primary win against two other more moderate Democrats. He now faces a Republican incumbent, Tom Barrett, in the November midterms. I asked him about disappointment amongst voters who thought they might be getting one thing with a candidate, and then after that candidate was then elected, they get something else.
At Governor Abigail Spanberger, only to find out that now she has extended a 2-year tax break for these data centers that are owned and promoted by billionaires. So there's a lot of remorse or frustration by Democratic voters who thought that they were going to get something and then ended up getting something else. And I think that that also translates to the corporate Democrats in Congress. What's your response to that after what you just said to me?
People see the data centers as an example of how both parties are bought by Silicon Valley and Wall Street. I mean, Trump has said it's one of the top priority of his. We've also seen our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, do everything she can to roll out the red carpet for data center developers. And what the polling shows and all of the conversations reveal is that people are fed up with both parties on this issue. And candidates who are willing to stand with the people and say, no, you're not crazy for not trusting Sam Altman and Elon Musk to do right by your communities. Candidates who are willing to take that stand, which is very common sense, have been rewarded so far this summer, and I believe will be rewarded in November.
Lawrence is also for universal health care.
Are going bankrupt right now in addition to housing costs. What is your response to that comment that he made, or his refusal to embrace Medicare for all?
I strongly disagree. And I fear that his hesitance and the hesitance of many others in Democratic leadership, along with the entirety of the Republican Party, is due to the influence of big money in politics. There are people across the political spectrum who are taking money from the health insurance CEOs and cashing those checks and then going to say that, you know, Medicare for all is not something that we'll ever achieve in this country so that those CEOs can continue to profit. I strongly disagree, and I'll continue to fight hard for universal coverage that we can all count on throughout our lives, because that's what my neighbors here in mid-Michigan deserve.
And there it is. And speaking of Michigan, Dr. Abdul El Sayed has built his winning campaign and platform on Medicare for all. He is an expert in public health and even wrote a book on it. And the latest polls show he has a substantial lead over Republican Mike Rogers. And yet, a Washington Post article quotes Democrat Senate leader Chuck Schumer, who is a Zionist, is saying, quote, a path to winning back the Senate clearly goes through Michigan, but we have a whole bunch of different paths. In other words, like, maybe he's not really going to support Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan and go a different route. I mean, what are we doing here, gentlemen? Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries appear to be sabotaging the Democratic Party at the very moment that we need to unify. And these jokers are more concerned about supporting genocidal Israel and their corporate donors than saving America from falling permanently off a cliff into an authoritarian state. And to prove my point, Michigan Jews Against Extremism, that is an ironic name, let me tell you, led by Democratic donor Brian Hermelin, recently wrote a letter stating that they would rather vote for Republican Senate candidate Mike Rogers than progressive Abdul El-Sayed because Sayed stands up against Israel. This is just part of their letter. If El-Sayed were to claim victory in the general election, the authors say, we fear the far left and anti-Jewish elements in the Democratic Party would become dominant, including in the imminent 2028 presidential race. They go on to say, we cannot allow him to become the Democratic standard bearer or Michigan senator. I mean, it is just astounding. El-Sayed, who wants to offer Americans universal health care, abolish ICE, take dark money out of politics, and all of that, of course, correlates with cutting ties with an apartheid state that is committing genocide in multiple countries, as well as bleeding Americans dry financially to fund their war crimes. But the Zionist Jews of Michigan are going with the genocidal, Trump-supporting Republican candidate, Mike Rogers, and the destruction of democracy. It's disgusting. So much for vote blue, no matter who. And that Chuck Schumer appears to be going along with this is equally appalling. This is why we are seeing such a backlash against establishment Democrats. We should all be aligned against war crimes, against apartheid, against ethno-states, against Islamophobia, and Donald Trump's crooked beyond criminal regime that is objectively destroying the United States. But these traitors are going to support the fascist bootlicker and cry out, anti-Semitism, we're the victims. I'm getting really tired of this shit. On multiple occasions, Dr. Sayed has spoken warmly, supportively about his potential Jewish constituents. He's not anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic. This is such gaslighting by the Zionist pro-Israel lobby. I can't even see straight. I hope that you are able to discern what is going on here. And let me remind you that Israel's National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, celebrated his recent birthday with a cake decorated with a noose. And he regularly posts videos of the gallows that Israel has set up specifically to hang Palestinians and says he can't wait to start executing them. Quote, I think we should be doing 30 to 40 assassinations per night, not just those who pose an immediate threat. Like, which Palestinians are posing a threat to you right now? Seriously, that's just a lie. There are people who don't deserve to live. They aren't even people. There you go. National Security Minister of Israel doesn't believe that Palestinians are people, and he's not alone. You see this? It's not just Netanyahu. They represent a faction of people. There are several people in Israel who feel this way. They do not believe that Palestinians are humans. So no, we should not be supporting that government or society that supports that. And trigger warning, but does this child whose chest was blown open by the IOF, this Palestinian child, does he look like he was a threat to you? Israel constantly targets and kills Palestinian children. This is a fact. I have done other reporting about this, but go ahead and tell us that the Arab born in America is the bad guy. I think the establishment Democrats and the Democrat Party as a whole has some serious soul searching to do because voters are moving away from Israel, away from billionaires and their corporations that are taking and controlling everything from us. Like, we're done. The sole goal that we should have is to remove the Trump regime or to at least rein it in by taking control of the House and the Senate. And to see this sabotage going on from within the party is really something. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'll see you back here soon. Peace.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.